Hi, 7th graders. This is the day 1 math lesson for lesson 8-1, page 376, numbers 11 through 29, the odds. Please, in a few seconds, pause this video and read through pages 374 and 375. When you're done reading those pages, come back and let's discuss some example problems. Okay, you should have read through those 2 pages and hopefully we can explain it a little bit better right now. The first thing we need to understand is what probability is. Probability is the amount of favorable outcomes over the top of all the outcomes in the form of a fraction. For example, if I flip a coin, there are 2 possibilities that can occur. I can get a heads, or I can get a tails. So in that particular circumstance, if somebody says, what's the probability of getting a heads? The probability is 1 out of 2. Why? Because if I want heads, there's 1 favorable outcome out of a total of 2 possible outcomes. Therefore, the probability of flipping a coin and getting a heads is 1 out of 2. What is the probability of flipping a coin and getting a tails? Well, that would also be 1 out of 2, right? How about this little item, a die? It has 6 faces. So if I wrote on the board, what is the probability of getting a 1 or a 2 when I roll the die? A 1 or a 2, well, 2 of those outcomes on the die would be favorable to what we want, right? If I get a 1 or if I get a 2, I would be happy. And there's a total of 6 faces. So therefore, the probability would be 2/6 or simplified down to 1/3. So probability is favorable outcomes over the top of all the outcomes. On page 375, there are a bunch of green problems in the middle of the page, A, B, C, and D. I've written A, B, and C, and D right here. So take a look at the green section on 375. It says, the spinner is used for a game. Write each probability as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. Let's look at problem A. How many 6s do you see on that spinner? I see just 1. How many total sections on the spinner are there? I see 6. So the probability of getting a 6, spinning a 6, is 1/6. But keep in mind, the directions for this section also say, write it as a fraction, write it as a decimal number, and write it as a percent. So we need to remember how to do this, right? Do you remember that dividing the top number by the bottom number is going to give us the decimal value? And in this case, the decimal value is 0.16 repeating. And we also need to change it into a percent. Changing it into a percent really just means moving the decimal point 2 places over. So we got 16.6 repeating percent. These are the 3 answers for green dot problem A. Let's try the second one. B, what's the probability of getting an odd number? I see the number 1, the number 3, and the number 5. So there are 3 odd numbers in that circumstance. 3 odd numbers out of a total of 6 total outcomes gives us a probability of 3/6. Wait a minute, I wonder if we could simplify that. Yes, we can. 3/6 simplifies to 1/2. The decimal version is 0.5, and the percent is 50%. So there's our second example problem. Problem C rather, the probability of getting a 5 or an even number. Well, look at the spinner. How many 5s and how many even numbers do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the number 5 plus 2, 4, and 6. So I see 4 out of 6. Hey, can that be simplified? Yep, to 2/3. So there's our fractional number. Here's our decimal number. 2 divided by 3 is 0.6 repeating. And here is our percent value, 66.6 repeating percent when I move the decimal over 2 places to the right to turn the decimal into the percent. Finally, what's the probability of getting a number that is less than 7? Well, all of the numbers are less than 7, right? So we would write that as 6 out of 6, or the number 1. The decimal value of that is 1. The percent value of that is 100%, because you have to move the decimal point over 2 places. So those are the green dot problems. Let's backtrack a little bit to the bottom of 374. Take a look at that, please. Notice that in the world of probability, probabilities always find themselves somewhere between 0 and the number 1. So keep that in mind. In addition, you'll notice that they're showing that those decimal numbers of 0 to 1 also correlate or connect themselves with the percents of 0% to 100%. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at this problem right down here. What if we have a bucket that has 5 blue marbles, 10 red marbles, and 10 yellow marbles? And somebody said, find the probability of getting a yellow marble if you picked out from it randomly. Well, there are 10 yellow marbles, and there's a total of 25 marbles in all. So the probability of picking a yellow would be 10 out of 25. Now, can we simplify that? You bet. Divide by 5, we get 2/5. Can we change that into a decimal number? Yes. Divide the top number, divide the bottom number, you get 0.4. And can we change that into a percent? Yes. Move the decimal point 2 places over, and it becomes 40%. Look at the second problem. What is the probability of getting a blue or a red marble in this case? Blue and red is a total of 15. So that would be 15 out of 25, which simplifies, divide by 5 to 3/5, which is the decimal number of 0.6 when you divide 3 by 5. And that is the percent of 60% when you move the decimal point 2 places over. How about the probability of picking a white? There are no whites in our bucket of marbles. So the probability is 0 out of 25, or 0.0, or 0%. Now, do we really need to write 0.0? No, we can just write that as 0, right? So anyway, those are the answers to this particular example problem. Let's look over here at this particular problem. Imagine a town that has 1,000 phone numbers that are being in use. And somebody created a phone book for that town where all the numbers were listed, but 500 of those numbers are not listed in the town phone book. What's the probability that you're going to pick a phone number that is listed in the phone book? That is listed. And then, what is the probability of picking a number that's not listed in the phone book? Let's start with this one first. Notice there's 500 that are not listed, so that's our favorable number, our favorable outcome. And there's 1,000 phone numbers in all. Hey, this simplifies to 1/2. Second problem, about a number that is listed. Well, it said that 500 are not listed, and it says we have a total of 1,000. So in this case, 1,000 minus 500, that means there must be 500 that are listed in the phone book. And once again, the probability is 1/2. And remember, we could also write these as decimal numbers, 0.5, and we could also write them as percents, 50%. So, what do we got here? We've got probability is a situation in which there are favorable outcomes over all the outcomes. Additionally, we also have to remember that in certain problems in your assignment, they're going to be asking for more than one answer. They might be asking for the fractional answer, the decimal answer, and the percent answer. So please keep an eye on that when you do the assignment. That's it. If you have any questions, give me a call. My phone number, 517-242-3138. Thank you and have a good day.